Hey everybody, Nick Espinoza, your chief security fanatic here, and today we are talking about Google because Google's voice assistant, known as Google Assistant, records you even when you're not using it. Here's what's going on. It's coming from Tech Time, and this isn't the first time I have had to talk about this here on this podcast and video show, I guess, if you want to call it. Now, it turns out that even without saying the words, okay, I'm not going to activate your thing, the AI assistant still listens to your conversations. So you don't even have to say it. As long as it's there, it is listening. Google has already previously admitted to recording conversations on Assistant in a blog post on July 11th of 2019. However, basically, they clearly said that it does not do that without basically saying the magic word. You have to say, okay, to get it to go, but obviously that's not the case. They further assured us that it only sends audio to its servers after summoning that AI. Now, according to Android Authority, representatives from Google admitted to the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Information Technology of India that Assistant records audio even when products featuring it are not being used. Now, the tech giant also noted that their employees listen to these recordings as speech recognition technology uses them. Nevertheless, Google clarified that it is not being done in any creepy way, assuring that their staff is not listening to our sensitive conversations. It was further established that they only have access to limited parts of the audio, but, and this is a huge but, Google did not clarify to that committee what conversations it considers sensitive or non-sensitive. And so there you go. We are basically left to their subjective decision on that one. Now, the Google Assistant has recorded audio without permission in the past. However, the company apparently fixed that error, quote unquote, immediately, but kind of did they? So VoiceBot reported in August of 2020 that Google similarly admitted that Assistant records audio even without saying, okay, blaming a software error. Google went on to say that a small number of users had been affected by that issue, and since then Google has assured users that error has been resolved. Specifically, Google Home devices, due to Nest Aware, have faced the inadvertent recording mess back then, but now they are simply going in front of a governmental body in India, being the second most populous, nation in the world. That's a pretty large government, admitting, yeah, even if you're not saying, okay, we're still recording you. And that's a huge problem. Now, obviously, different countries have different laws. India's laws are different than here, the United States or the EU or Australia or wherever it is. But this is obviously a very huge problem. And when you have laws, like, for example, I live in the state of Illinois where we have the Biometric Information Privacy Act, this admission to essentially a federal government, in India basically stands to reason that I may have a case against Google if I carry an Android device that has the Google Assistant on it, and they all do. This is a huge thing. This is also not the first time that we've talked about Google simply just going into your stuff, because essentially they're giving all of this to you for free, which means you're the product. So the Wall Street Journal broke a couple of years ago that they were essentially reading your Gmail, and then they were letting third-party contractors in to read your Gmail under the auspices of training, quote unquote, and that was unredacted email as well. We know that their engineers have had back-end access to all of this for years. There was a 27-year-old caught stalking a 15-year-old girl. He was a Google engineer, would just go into her Gmail. So please understand that when you are using these things, they are recording you. They have to be on all the time to hear that word, okay, blank, or, the A word, if it's an Amazon and all of that. I'm not going to, I'm not going to fire these things off for you. I've gotten into trouble with that, or complaints rather, in the past when I say those words, and so I try not to. But this is a huge thing. You always have to it always has to be listening in order to do that. And we are making the assumption incorrectly that as we are just having this normal conversation, and I have an Android sitting here next to me, for example, it's not actually listening to this. And it is. And that's a huge problem. This is the problem that we have with technology. We are raising a generation that just assumes technology is there, it's for their use, it's making their life easier, that the infrastructure around them is going to be secure and private, when the actual device they're using is recording them, is data mining them. This opens up a whole bunch of different problems, because what happens if you have kids that are using, let's say, that Android tablet, to play games? Now the Google Assistant is there. So basically, is it listening to the kids play games or have conversations or all of that? This opens up a huge, huge problem that we have, and the world's not really aware of it. We have, reporting in cybersecurity circles or tech circles that talk about this, but I don't get views like like a CNN or an MSNBC or NBC or Fox News or any one of those. I don't get views like that at all. I wish I did, because these are the things they're not talking about. So it's a huge problem. I encourage everybody to basically pass this along. And not that I really ever ask you guys to share any of my stuff, but these are the kinds of things that as we continue to develop and evolve and grow and get newer, fancier, faster, more efficient and effective phones and devices in our lives, this is what we're giving up. And if you're fine with that, fine. Consider yourself informed. But if you're not, you got to let people know. You really do, because it's concerning. So I think Google's going to get sued. I'm not sure. Obviously, might be in India, probably here in the United States as this comes to light. But this is a huge, huge problem that we have in our privacy. It's being violated on a daily basis. That's a huge problem, and I'm certain of it. My opinion, but it's a certain opinion that what's good in India is good here in the United States in terms of Google's practices, because why not? Why would they make one specifically for India as opposed to one here in the United States? Language issues aside, and obviously a good chunk of the Indian population speaks English as well. This is what we're talking about. So there you go. That is your news of the day. It's just absolutely bonkers, but Google is basically violating your privacy, and they admitted it to a government. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP. And please feel free to subscribe to me on Google-owned YouTube, which they're data mining. And as always, stay safe, stay online, and please, please stay private. Thanks, everyone.